Welcome back. This is the RPA champion, and in today's video we are going to be seeing form processing with AI Builder. Now in more detail we are going to see an example of how we are going to extract data from invoices. So imagine we have some PDFs that every time we receive them they are different, and we want to extract some information like the due date or maybe the invoice number, or for example we want to extract the amount due or any kind of information. So what we're going to see is we're going to use the AI Builder. We are going to train our own model, and we're going to apply this model that we train inside the flow. The flow that we're going to create is going to extract invoice information from PDF documents, and it's going to insert this PDF information in an Excel, or it's going to send it via email. We'll see. That is not important. What the objective of this video is to show you how to use the AI Builder to train your own model on invoices or on any other use case that you might have. So for this, we're going to go to the AI Builder, and we are going to click on Build. After that, we are going to be using the form processing. Now, this functionality is here. They are already pre-trained models by Microsoft. You can already just click on one of these and start using it right off the box. But we don't want to do that. We want to create our own model. We want to train our own model, because in our case, our invoices, for example, are going to be different. So we are going to click on form processing, and we're going to give a name to our model. So I'm going to call it invoice P. I have already created one that's called invoice, so I will create this one as invoice P. Now keep in mind that to train your model, it is only required 5 documents to have. But obviously, the more documents that you have, the more accurate your model is going to be. So let's create our model. Now, what does this mean when we create a model? So we are basically creating an algorithm that is going to learn the different PDFs that we are going to receive, and is going to be able to understand where the different data and information is going to be located on these fields. So when we're talking about different data and information, what is the different data that we want to extract from this PDF? So in this example, we can say that we want the invoice number. We might also want the total, the total that is due. We might also want the due date. We might also want, what else do we want? We might also want the invoice number, the total, the due date. I think that should be quite good, sufficient. And let's just also add the customer ID. So this is all of the different information that we want to automatically find and extract from our PDF documents. So imagine that previously we were doing this manually. We were receiving these PDF documents in our email. We would open them and we would extract it manually. Right now we are creating a flow that is going to do this for us, and you're going to see how simple this is. And you could apply this. Basically, you could train a model for any kind of document that you want. Excellent. So right now we need to create. So we have created the fields that we wanna extract and identify. Now we need to create a collection. What is a collection? A collection is just a container that is gonna hold the different data that we are gonna train our model on. So let's say that we wanna process invoices that are coming, for example, from Coca-Cola. We are gonna create a folder that is gonna be called Coca-Cola, and here we're gonna put as many invoices as we can from Coca-Cola so that we can train our model on it. And we're gonna do this for as many vendors as we have. So for example, let's create 2 collections. One collection, and for anybody that is interested in more detail, there is a tutorial about this on the Microsoft Power Automate page that you could also download the information, download the sample information that I will be uploading, and you could also get a little bit more detail about the different steps that I'm covering. So I will name one of my collections. I will name it Adatum. That will be one of my vendors, and the other vendor will be Contoso. Excellent. So I will now upload the information and the data, the different invoices that I want to train my model on. So let's select the different invoices, and here again, keep in mind you could use a SharePoint site, you could use a Google Drive site, you could use also a an online place where images are uploaded dynamically, so maybe in a pipeline. So we've selected, who did we select? We selected Adatum, I believe we have selected. So I have already here some invoices that I will upload into here. So again, just to kind of recap the process until here, the first thing that we did was to identify the different fields inside of our documents that we wanted to extract. Now what we are doing, we are uploading minimum five documents so that we can train our model on these 5 documents. But before we train our model, we need to tag these fields and we need to show our model where these fields are. So let's proceed on to the next step. The first thing also, we'll have to wait for the documents to be analyzed by Power Automate. Excellent. It has trained, and now that we have trained, that we have analyzed our model, we are on the screen to tag our document. Now we see here 2 red dots that mean that these documents have not been trained and are ready to review. So if we click on our documents, or let's, for example, first click on Contoso, what we need to do is we need to show our model or train our model and tell it where the different information that we want is going to be. So for example, the invoice number. Where is the invoice number on this model? It's right here. Perfect. So this is going to be the invoice number, and I will select it like this. Now the total, the balance due is here, but it's also here. I will be selecting this one. So again, we are going to select balance total. So we have the invoice number, the total, and now we need the due date. So this is the due date. We're going to select the full date, and we'll add this as the due date. Now, on this form, I don't have the customer ID. Therefore, I will select that this field is not available in this collection, and therefore do not train the model to identify the customer ID on these invoices from this vendor. Now, I have completed the first page. Now I have 5 more pages to do. So I have to repeat this same process 5 more times on all of the other pages. In this way, I will be able to train a model to recognize this information in any other future PDFs that are arriving from this vendor or from this source and that have a similar structure. Now, Microsoft is doing a pretty AI builder for Microsoft is doing a pretty good job, and in the following page, it has already identified for me so that I don't have to do it. Let's see if it's going to do the same in the 3rd page. So let's click on it, and it has identified the data correctly. That is perfect, and I believe it will be able to identify the data automatically on the fourth and on the fifth page as well without any problem. We just have to wait a few seconds for it to finish loading. So this is page 4. It has identified all of the data correctly. And now let's just go to page 5, because in our process we need to visit every single page and make sure that the data is correctly labeled on 5 pages. Once we have done that, that is enough for AI Builder to be able to create to be able to train a model on the data that you have provided. And when you think about it, 5 documents is a very, very small amount of data points to train a machine learning model to do something that maybe not so much time ago was so complex and would require different technologies to do, and it was also not the most reliable because of all the different technology stacks and complexity involved in doing it. So here we go. Here we have the other invoices, and here we see that we also have the invoice number. So not only do we have the total that should be somewhere around the bottom, but we also have the date, the invoice number, and all of this information. So let's start tagging. So this is the date, the due date, this is the invoice number or the customer ID. No, this is actually this is a mistake. So let's change this, and this is not the customer ID. This will be our invoice number. So let's select this again, and let's select customer invoice number. Perfect. So I believe that the customer ID is right here, and this is the customer ID. And now let's select the total as well. So for this invoice, we have all of the information that is required. So perfect. Now we have to repeat the process just like with the previous invoices. Now we have to repeat it again for our 5 documents. So if Power Automate is not able to identify all of the fields inside of the invoice, it's gonna stop us and it's gonna ask us to identify and to make sure that that data is correct. So as you can see, in this case, it was, for some strange reason, it was not able to identify the invoice number. So let's help it out and tell it this is the invoice number and this is the due date. So maybe in the following ones, it will be able now to recognize also those missing fields, or maybe we're gonna have to train. Now let's wait and see what happens. So again, it was not able to identify the invoice number and the due date, but that is not an issue because we have to do this initial training on at least 5 documents so that Microsoft will learn how to get it correct. Now let's pass on to the final document, and just to kind of remind you how simple and easy all of this is. I am training a machine learning model without using any coding language, without using any statistics, any advanced mathematics, or any advanced coding tool that might be out of the capabilities of a simple business user that might require a functionality like this. So this is really great to see that this technology has been enabled for anybody to use and create their own complex flows like this. All right, perfect. I have finally completed almost all of the different invoices. Now I believe there is one more invoice, so let's tag this last invoice as well. We are obviously going to perform a test after all of this is done. So this is the due date and the invoice number, just so that we make sure that all of this data and also this that we are having hard time matching, that all of this information is matched correctly and is going to work before we put it inside of our flow. Now inside of our flow, we are going to be doing something really nice and really unique. We are going to be sending images, and we're going to be extracting from these images. we're going to be extracting all of the information, such as the invoice number, such as the amount due, the date, and so on. So we have tagged 5 documents. So this is the last thing that we have to do. So now we just have to train our model. We have to wait for it to get trained. Once it's trained, we have to publish it, and then we're ready to use it inside of our flows. Now this is going to take a couple of minutes. So now that we go and see our models right here, and just to recap while we're waiting for this page to load, when you are building your models, you would go to build, obviously, and then to see all the different models that you have built and that you have in production or that you are working on, you would go to models. And as you can see, now that we are on our model screen, we can see that we have our invoice P model. We can see that currently the status is training. So we're going to have to wait another couple of minutes just for this to finish training. And then immediately we will be able to use our model. As you can see, it has already finished training. So let's start using it immediately in one of our processes. And you will see how easy this really is to use and integrate inside of your Power Automate or Power App flows. So I can either quick test this model or I can publish it. It is good practice that you should quick test your models once you have the first time that you have created them. So just to test, we would upload a invoice that we have an invoice that we have not used for training. So for example, let's use a new invoice that hasn't been seen by the application. And let's see if the model that we have trained is able to correctly identify the information on this invoice. So it should identify the invoice number, it should identify the date due, and it should identify the total at the bottom of the page. And as you can see, it has identified the invoice number with confidence score of 100%, and the same with the other 3 information pieces that we require. Now let's close this, let's publish our model, let's put it inside of a Power Automate script, and let's see how we can access this information and how we can use it inside of our Power Automate flows. And again, I really want to stress out how simple and straightforward this whole process is, and I really invite you to start playing with Power Automate, building your models. It is a really great, powerful tool that is so straightforward to use. So let's use this immediately in a new flow. Excellent. So this is the page that we are redirected to. So we're going to be using our custom service that we have created. So let's click on continue, and we're going to be directly redirected to a page where we are going to be able to create our flow with this component that we have used. So in addition, since I have chosen to take the path and create and integrate the model that I have created via the AI builder, I will also have right now a few additional things that might not be required in your flows, but for our testing purposes, we're gonna use them, and I will show you right now what I'm talking about as soon as the page finishes loading. Okay, perfect. So what I was talking about is this initial part of an manually triggered flow where we have the ability to upload a picture, but we could also upload the invoice. When I say invoice, I mean upload the invoice to a shared drive, or we could send it via email and get it from an email folder, or there's different ways. For just simplicity reasons, we are gonna keep this and we're gonna upload an invoice. What we're going to do after that we are going to use the model that we have trained, which is this model right here, and we're going to use it on this document type that we're going to get from here and on the document here. After that, what we are going to do is we're going to send an email with information that we have extracted to ourselves. So let's do this very quickly. And in the same way, you could also insert in an Excel sheet or in a Google sheet a line in an Excel sheet for each of the invoices inserted, or do whatever step that you might think of, for example, an approval workflow or an approval step. But just to show you how to use the data that is extracted from your model, so let's send an email. And we're going to send this email to myself. Apologies for that. Excellent. And now in the body, we're going to use different numbers. So the total value, this is going to be the total value. And then right underneath, we're going to have the invoice number. And after that, we're going to have the due date. And we also want to know who is this vendor. So let's use the name of the collection that we have used here to set the name. So, all right, we should have all of the information. And again, I'll just repeat again, you could also have kind of an approval workflow, meaning that if your invoice is larger than 100, only in that case, send me an email for approval. And if I approve it, then insert it in an Excel or send another email or continue with your flow. So this is pretty much it. And now we can save and test our process immediately. So this has been a little bit of a longer video, but that is only because we went a little bit into the detail of explaining how AI Builder works and how we are going through all the different steps in just a little bit more detail. When you're going to be doing this by yourself, you're going to see that in 10-15 minutes you will be able to create a machine learning model and be able to deploy it and utilize it immediately inside of your flows. Now let's select an image that we would like to analyze. So I will not use this image anymore, just for testing purposes, and let's use this other image to test. So this is a PDF document. Now let's upload it and let's see what happens. So I have done the first step of the process, which is to manually upload the document inside of the process. Now we have sent the document to the Power AI server where our model lives, and now we have also received an email. I will show you the email on the other screen that has just arrived. And this is the email that we have just received. So total value, this is the total value, this is the invoice number, this is the due date, and this is the vendor from who we have extracted this information from the invoice. Now imagine if you had 100 invoices or 1,000 invoices, or if you had to process dozens and dozens of invoices every day, how a solution like this could help you speed up your work and speed up your activities. You could maybe just build it on the majority of the invoices that you have, and then for those invoices that are special or that require particular care, you could continue working on those by hand until you build a more robust solution. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video, that you didn't fall asleep. It was a long video. If you like my content, and if you like this video, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching.